Two large yellow letters IN with blue broken up letters spelling visible underneath make up the logo invisible.
The following is the full interview with Dr. Jahnavi Misra recorded during the filming of the documentary Invisible in April 2022, funded by the British Academy. Directed by Dr. Anica Zeyen and Zeyen. Interview conducted by Dr. Anica Zeyen. The writing disappears and we meet Jahnavi. Jahnavi is an Indian woman with very long black hair. She also wears big, looped silver earrings. She sits on a purple sofa and has wooden paneling behind her.
I'm Jahnavi Misra. I live in London, and 2021 was a very eventful year for me. Of course, there was the pandemic and the anxiety that we all felt, but also my book came out, and that was a long and difficult process in its own way. But on December 31st, I got my autism diagnosis. It's been 4 months, but I'm still grappling with that. I thought I would feel enthusiastic about knowing myself better, and I felt numb more than anything. A little relieved, but also numb. And then slowly I started to get overloaded. I started to get very, very sensitive. I'm still going through some amount of burnout because of it. I think the functioning labels are hard to get around. People think I'm high functioning because I can hold a conversation, but there's a lot that goes on underneath, a lot of flapping that is invisible. And being understanding, being a little bit sympathetic, and knowing always that certain things are going to be more difficult for me than they are for them. Just having an awareness of that would make life easier for me. But there are other things that individuals or friends and family can't really fix. There are those systemic problems, like, for example, trying to get a reference for a job. Things like that are very difficult for me. Getting in touch with people like that is very difficult for me. Or presenting myself in a certain way in an interview is very difficult for me. Things like that individuals can't really fix. That's a systemic problem, that certain disabilities are just not looked at. I've always had executive functioning problems. I sleep very, very late in the night or early hours in the morning and wake up really late and try to fit in life, eating, exercising. By the time it is midnight, barely done anything. Now I know the reason for it. I didn't earlier.
What was your experience of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think a lot of us, including me, felt a bit of confusion. I didn't know how seriously to take it. But then the numbers started to rise exponentially, and that's when it hit most of us, I think. My life didn't change too dramatically after the pandemic, but my partner started to work from home, and so I felt less isolated actually. Started working out at home, and the restaurants closed, so learning to make nice things for myself. So those are the kinds of things that changed. We started to learn music. I am trained in Hindustani classical music. I finished my animation film that we had started before the pandemic, and also started a new one, which we hope to finish in a couple of months now. My family is in India, so the closing of the borders at that time was really very difficult to deal with. Certain aspects of the social shakeup was actually really interesting for me, especially the working from home bit was really good. I think a lot of us with disabilities would find that so much easier to be able to just work from home. So that was very interesting. That I enjoyed. Because of this kind of shared grief that we all went through, I think people became a bit more sympathetic to vulnerable people. I think that was interesting, and I hope that carries on. I think I have always been a bit more self-motivated than most of my peers because of my disability. That did prepare me in the pandemic. I did not need the kind of external structure that a lot of my friends needed and complained about not having during the pandemic. I did not feel that lack so much. I don't feel so bad about being isolated and not being able to meet people as much. I think that was very difficult for people during the pandemic. It wasn't so much for me. I hope people have become a bit more sympathetic. I kind of felt a connection generally with people because everybody was suddenly thrust into this isolated existence, this kind of loneliness, which I have felt constantly throughout my life. People complained, but also I think it gave them a new understanding.
What would you like non-disabled and non-autistic people to know?
They should not be afraid to ask questions. I think respectful curiosity is really good. Answering questions also helps me understand myself. And I'm sure it's true for a lot of disabled people. Socially, we are given just this one standard through which to look at ourselves. And disabled people, we find ourselves falling short often. By asking questions, it almost makes us look at ourselves anew. I like that engagement. I think non-disabled people should not be afraid of asking questions. One should be aware that disability is not always about something that is deficient with the person. It is very often the environment within which the person is being forced to function. That is something that non-disabled people should keep in mind. Exercise empathy, understanding, be respectful of difference. Just this constant complaining about not being able to meet people is something that I did not always identify with, but had to, I did find myself often pretending that, and agreeing that yes, it is very hard that we're not getting to meet people. And then I would kind of get irritated with myself for being inauthentic. That fracture between how I experience life and how other people do becomes obvious when people complain about things that you actually quite enjoy. I hope we have all collectively realized that we cannot take things for granted, our relationship with the planet and our relationship with each other. I hope people become more aware of how the planet is being impacted. I hope things don't just go back to normal. It's really nice going back to the theater, going to concerts and restaurants is really nice. That's the only thing I missed during the pandemic, really. I hope I can grow from the diagnosis I've received. I hope I get over the burnout and I'm able to embrace the more positive aspects of having had this diagnosis and look at myself afresh.
What would a disability inclusive world look like and mean to you?
I would stop hiding a bit more. I think I would be able to present myself more authentically and not be afraid so much of showing myself in public. It would be a world where we embrace difference, where people are allowed to play to their strengths. I think that is very important, to be able to acknowledge and express what I find difficult and what I find easy, because there are so many things that I find easier than another person and so many things that I find more difficult. And to be able to acknowledge and express that and live my life according to that would be a more fulfilling life for all of us. Regular interaction, regular life can be a challenge for all of us. Realize that a lot of times autism is invisible. I've been trying to interact with the world as an autistic person now that I have the diagnosis, also trying to increase engagement with the autistic community. It's all part of me trying to get to know myself better and also stop hiding and to express myself as best I can.
What made you come forward for the documentary?
I hope I have been able to express my solidarity with and my support for the autistic community by doing this. And I hope I have been able to present myself authentically. I think it is very important for all of us to talk about how different we are from each other. That is more important than talking about similarities. We should all add to the conversation and talk about differences. That is very important for all of us to kind of move forward. Thank you.
Credits: Dr. Anica Zeyen, co-director, interviewer and narrator. Dr. Jahnavi Misra, interviewee. Wadaby, co-director. The British Academy funded this project. Copyright 2023, Dr. Anica Zeyen. All rights reserved.